Well, good morning, you crazy kids. How are you? I guess somewhere in the world it is good afternoon. How are you? I decided to come on early today because I have a very special guest, and this very special guest is very in demand. And so when I said, "Hey, we haven't spoken in a while, we need to have a chat," he was like, I have to go and see the king. I have to go and see Keir Starmer. I have to, he's very, very in demand. So I'm going to bring him in. We are still getting people coming on right now. But ladies and gentlemen, can you please welcome the one, the only master of disaster. I don't know what's going on. Hold on. The ginger whinge. No, I was trying not to say whinger, but ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We have Mr. Trevor Colton there. He's all. How are you?
I'm good. I'll take my Robo Neil hat off. Good, actually. That was one hell of an introduction. I would have loved to come on and stayed a long time, Matthew. Thank you for inviting me on. It's a bit of a strange one. There's a topics in my head at the minute, but at the minute, I'm leaving soon because I know my son's just spoke to me there. My son now plays for First Division football team, and he can't be late. So that's the only reason. But it's exciting what's happening at the minute. Thanks to your president, we now may have peace in the Middle East, which is unbelievable. And
no, do you mean the warmonger? You got it wrong. I mean, everyone calls him the warmonger.
To be fair, something did really confuse me over the last couple of days, and that was Joe Biden woke up and he said, "Oh, Trump stole my peace deal." I mean, how crazy is that?
Trump stole my lunch money. That's what he said the other day as well.
It makes me laugh, though. It's just crazy. I mean, look at this. Have you seen? You haven't seen this, have you? Look, I bought a nutcracker. It's 4 foot tall, and
Are you calling it Hillary Clinton?
I was going to call it Spency after my old platoon sergeant because he used to bust my balls. Nutcracker. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But yeah, it was on sale, about $160, and I just thought, you know what, Christmas, I only live once.
You do have your Christmas decorations. By the way, I want to try something because for some reason I just hit an applause twice and I didn't hear the applause. So can I try it 1 second? Because I want to hear it. Hold on.
Go.
That's weird. I keep having these weird issues. Just generally in life, weird issues. But apart from that, yeah, it's not allowing me to do my sparkly lion, which is a bit of a problem. Or my, hold on, there's got to be something going on here. But anyway, go on. So did you see the part where Donald Trump, because I want to talk about Keir Starmer, and I want to, you know what I'm talking about, right? When he called him forward and then just turned his back on him on Keir Starmer.
Well, everyone's turned their back on Keir Starmer.
It's so embarrassing.
To be, let's be honest, he's incompetent, and that is why he added no value. Do you know what was really embarrassing? And I'm not an American, you are now, but do you know what was embarrassing? To watch every leader in the world fly there to Egypt just to shake his hand. I mean, there we go. And you know, he stood there, and you know what was funny? He looked like the headmaster, and all the other leaders were his teachers. And he stood there, and he just went, "Here we have, where's France? Where's Macron? Oh, having a low profile? Where's Turkey? Where's UAE?" And they're all like, here, like putting their hands up. I'm here. You know what I mean? I mean,
oh, I've lost you. Oh, I know why. Hang on a minute, because I'm messing around. Everyone else can hear you apart from me. That's my fault. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Ah, there you go. Sorry. It was really good seeing you doing it silently.
No,
because everyone else can hear my applause. I can't hear my own applause, which is kind of weird. I don't know why.
Can you hear me now?
Lily of the Mountain says that she can hear my applause. Anyway, enough about me. Enough about me, Trevor. What about you? Go on. So carry on. Look, Donald Trump is probably, I mean, outside of Reagan, maybe even better than Reagan, is the best president in my lifetime.
I like him. I think what he's achieved, no one else could do it in the history. No one's else been able to do it. I mean, it's in the Bible that the Israelites and the Palestinians would fight for life. In the Bible, he's managed to do. Now, fingers crossed, because the dead haven't been returned yet. I think, but
Yeah. I mean,
so
why do you
far
think
so
it
good.
is, Trev? Let me ask you this, because like you're
It's
a
quite easy.
wolf. Ah,
It's very simple why they haven't been returned. I think that they've just been kept in a dark room, the dead, and you cannot return bodies looking despicable. I honestly
yeah,
believe they'll be going through like a mortuary type thing where they will try and make them look a little bit better before they hand them over. That's just my opinion. I mean, you don't want to hand over the dead which look terrible. You want to be able to at least make them look present. I know it sounds awful saying this, but you want to hand them over looking presentable, even though they're dead. If
yeah,
that makes sense, hopefully you
yeah.
understand that.
But Trev,
So
I mean, look, you're a war fighter, and you know I know what you would do if anyone captured any one of your platoon mates. Like you'd be like, I don't care what I have to do to get to them, you know, to get them back. And
yeah,
why do you think there's this like cognitive dissonance between people that say, well, you know, why is Israel continuing to do military operations? I'm like, because they still have Israelis. And if they had Americans, if Mexico kidnapped Americans, I'd say turn that place into a giant mirror if they don't give me our people back. Why is this? Why are we at a point now where we're
it's
so
down to
weak?
leadership. It's down to leadership. Let's not forget that it's not about taking hostages. It's about leadership to get them returned. Now, you've only got to go back to Benghazi and Hillary Clinton. Let's be honest, mate. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you left Americans there to die, and that was under a certain administration. Now you have a different administration that's a little bit unhinged, which is good.
Yeah.
Who will say, return them or die? Simple. And there's no negotiation there. And that's why they're going to continue to do what they need to do until everything is back, and then it'll stop.
Well, and the other thing that you know, Trevor, is in the Middle East, all they do is respect power and strength. Like, you know, if you think you're going to go and negotiate with them, they just laugh at you. You know, they just, oh, bless you, thinking that you're going to negotiate with us. You have to go in there and really carry a big stick and say, listen, this is the negotiating. If you don't give us our people back, we're going to bomb you into oblivion. And I think that I think the Israelis understand that, and they've been very, very up until this point. They've actually, you know, held back. But you know this, Trevor. I mean, when you were in, when you were overseas, when you were in the Middle East, how many times did you have to deal with things like, for example, I mean, I know this from when the guys did Black Hawk Down. They would put women out there as human shields, and they knew, like, they didn't care. The kids they didn't care about. Did you see any of that when you were over in the Middle East?
Um, a little bit opposite. Basically, what the Taliban and Al Qaeda did with us was the local villagers would move out of the area because they knew there was going to be attacks. So
Really?
anyone in front of us was enemy. But nighttime patrolling was quite difficult, Matthew, because they would put dogs, tie dogs up, and put them in the empty compounds. So every time we patrol past, the dog would bark and it would give away our position. They knew exactly where we were when we were out patrolling. Um, Now these dogs had rabies and stuff. You said a quarter past.
If we leave at quarter past, then we'll be.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go in a minute, buddy. But
All right,
basically,
mate. I'm just glad to have you for even a fraction of the time.
so the dogs that they used to put in those buildings had rabies and stuff. So the truth is, and whether your viewers like it or not, we used to eliminate the dogs, mate, in order to save life.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
not nice.
as much, and I know you love your dog, you loved your dog, and how much I love Archer. Um, they're not a human. They're not human. They're not human lives, and you know, there is a hierarchy on that, and of course, you know, they're being used. They're going to die anyway.
Yeah,
So
it's a shame, mate. You know, dogs are lovely, but they are used as tools of war. by both sides. We have awesome dogs that we bring out. Our SF use them. Armed explosive search dogs, sniffer dog. We use dogs are they're not just a tool. They're actually a member of the military with us, people, right? Stunning animals.
So tell me again what you're thinking, because I want my American audience to really get a good indication of what is going on in the UK, because I saw something going on with Tommy Robinson again. With him apparently leaving the country, and then they stopped him.
Mate, Tommy is what they call an enemy of the state. They hate him. Tommy has more power than the Prime Minister. His following is worth is millions now. And what they wanted of Tommy was they've seen how powerful he was at the United Kingdom. So they stopped him under the Terrorism Act. They shouldn't have used that. It's shocking. Under the Terrorism Act, they threw it at him. They wanted to get his mobile phone off him, his PIN number. And what they wanted to do was go through his mobile phone and see all the contacts and messages he gets. They want to know who's behind, who's helping him, where he gets his intelligence from. The truth is, mate, and I'll say this, I haven't said this before, but I heard this yesterday from someone that I know that used to work for an intelligence agency. Before the end of the year, Tommy Robinson will be recruited by Mossad.
I mean, I don't blame him, to be honest. I mean, look at what he's up against. He's not even getting any backing from his own government. I mean,
No.
I don't think people truly understand, Trevor, how bad it is that, like, I hate what's happened. Like, they're saying that you can't travel with X amount of money. It's the same thing when you want to take money out the bank. Like, it's your money. Like, why are they restricting how much you can take out the bank?
It's just digital ID, Tony Blair. It's shocking, mate. It's a authoritarian type state where the rich will stay rich and the poor.
Of course.
They're stripping us everything back, and it's going to get to the stage now where I'll need a license just to do a live stream, and I'll need to swipe my digital ID and stuff. We are falling.
And they'll take it away the moment that you say something that you shouldn't do.
I've had it, yeah. I know, son. Listen, buddy, I am going to have to shoot off. My son's standing on the stairs looking at me. He said, Dad. So, mate, it's a short thing, but I appreciate it. I have to get you on my channel. I have to do some stuff really soon, honestly. Hopefully the next couple of days.
I'm just glad to have you, Trev. I'm glad to have you a little bit. So, Wonko the Saint. So, hold on, before you go, Wonko the Saint just dropped off 5 Matthew Moslin channel memberships. I know that you guys can hear it. And the sparkly line for Wonko in the house. And I can't hear my own sounds, but apparently people can. So, all right, Trev, take it easy, brother.
Everybody. Take care, everyone.
All right, bye. So I had to do that, guys. I had to bring Trevor on because he hasn't been on for a long time, and we love Trevor. We love Trevor. So thank you, Wonko the Saint. Again, I keep telling him I'm having these tech issues. I don't know why, but you can hear the sparkly lion, right? So I'll just hit it anyway. Can you hear the applause? It's very strange. Very, very, very strange. Though I can't hear it. There's something going on with my mixing board. Can you guys hear the applause? Ready? Can you hear that? It's so weird. All right, guys. I have a confession to make, and it's really bad, and I want you guys to forgive me. It's very bad. Are you ready? Monday was Archer's birthday, and I didn't tell you. And we bought him gifts, and we gave him chewies and nice things. And you guys didn't get to wish him happy birthday. And I feel like a bad dad right now. I have guilt. I have a lot of guilt. But we, and all the kids were like, Daddy's got to give him his treats. And I was like, so if I can see him, let me see if he's around. Archer! I don't know if he's around right now. You'll hear the door go. Ah, here he is. Come on, here we go. Come on, come and tell everyone. because they want to see you for your birthday. Come on. Oh, he's a good boy. Come on up. You want to come up? Come on. Oh, he's been a little bit sulky with me. Come on up. Come. Where are you going? Come here. Come on up. Come on. Up. Up. He knows because he jumped on my neck the other day. There he is. Look. He's a good boy. Oh, look, he's a good boy. I don't know why we always talk in baby voices when you talk to dogs, but forgive me. He's one. He's a big boy now. Soon you're going to leave me and go off to college, dog college. That's what you're going to do. Oh, he's still licking me, look. He's a bit mad at me because I can't take him for walkies yet because of my neck. Although I can start doing it now. He loves me, don't you? Do you love me? Oh, did you see that? He was like, no. Come on. Come on then. Okay, that's more like it. Yes, it is. Oh, he's a good boy. Oh, that's a big slobber, mama. Oh, all right, go on then. Look, let's get everyone saying happy birthday to you because they love you. Look, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. People are going, what is this live stream? I don't know what it is, but he's a good boy. Look at him. He's like, I am King Archer, king of all I see. All right, then, go on. Go down now. There you go. All right, guys, you got your Archer fix. There you go. You got your Archer fix. I know. I felt really bad, and I was like, I've got to make it up to you because, you know, I know you guys. It's crazy. It's 1 year. 1 year. Bonkers. Go on, then. I've now figured out what he can chew that he's not destroying, which is a softball, which ironically is not soft. It's a hard ball. All right. So we got to go back to what we were talking about the other day. We're going to go back to it. We're going to go back, way back into time. Have you been thinking about the things that you need to work on? I know, you're like, here we are. Matt's holding me accountable. Yes, I am. So I want to know, did you, at the end of the last session, did you do your 30 minutes in quiet? Let me know. Come on, did you have your 30 minutes in quiet? And if you did, what did you think? Lisa, come on now. Lisa didn't. She's like, no. Oh, so Zephyr did. Jay did. So the whole idea, I'm getting crazy cook did. All right, did you guys come up with anything? Did you have any clarity? I'm really making this a central part of my life right now to reassess things and to let things go. I lost my internet, so running around like a headless chicken. I do want the truth. I always want. Okay, so Clover Queen, did you get any clarity on anything? And you know, I was actually speaking to someone the other day, a friend of mine, who I didn't think he watched this, but he watches, you know, the channel all the time, loves it actually. And I said, sometimes it's kind of hard. Oh, that's my son coming in right now. As you can tell, that's what I get all the time. Jones, a Bible study. All right, so John, I want to know what you studied today at Bible study. Let me know. I get that all the time, by the way. That's my kid. Mom! That's what I get. That's what you get. That's my son, Augustine, and he's literally like a golden retriever. He's like my other golden retriever. And I think that Archer and him, like, they're pack animals. John, right, okay, the last of the Gospels. Right, the last of the Gospels is very interesting. And he had a lot of visions, didn't he? Honesty and truth, not stumbling on. This is the first time we've received a gift membership. What is going on? You are blessed right now. You are blessed. So you got to go and thank Wonko the Awesome. So I want to know what you guys, what the ones that reflected, and I'm going to call on everyone to try and do 30 minutes of reflection today in quiet. All right? I want you to do it in silencio, which, as you can tell in my house, is very, very difficult, especially when the kids are off school. I did say 30 mini quesadillas, but I said 30 mini quesadillas in quiet. You know, I've got misophonia, so I don't want any of that, like, can't be having any of that. By the way, Texas Laurie is on set right now, and she's on set with a friend of mine. So I told her to go over and say hello to Josh Duhamel. Say hello to him from me. Cut the time for beginners. No, 30 minutes. Come on now. Honesty and truth in the hizzle. Give 5 Matthew Muslim channel memberships. 2. Who'd you give them to? Ryan Clippinger, Grey Wolf, JPS, JGG, 0. You all got memberships from the most awesome, and might I say, supercalifragilistically, expialidociously beautiful honesty and truth. Even though I can't hear the sparkly line, which is very weird. And what happened here? I just have to learn who to deal with grieving. But how do you mean how to deal with grieving better? How to deal with grieving better? Yeah, grieving. One of the things to think about when it comes to grieving is if you have faith, right? If you have faith, if you believe that there's a God, there's really nothing to grieve about. What you're doing is you're grieving for yourself, for your own loss, not for them. Does that make sense? I know it's kind of difficult. Or, you can grieve for lost time or whatever. But really, if you really believe that there's a God and someone you've lost is gone. It's funny, a priest said to me once, he said, don't say passed away. Don't say passed away. Say died. Say died. You shouldn't be afraid of dying. And what's funny is when I was having my neck surgery done, by the way, guess who got the all clear from the surgeon today? Oh yeah, he goes, no, you're mechanically perfect. Your neck is. So, Archer just opened the doors with his back. He's lying just outside the door. He's protecting me. Yeah, so I'm mechanically okay, but it's not even been 4 weeks since I had my surgery, and honestly, when I went in, which by the way, did you miss me? Did you really miss me? Did you really? Go on, you can tell me. Did you really miss me? Oh my gosh, your husband unalived himself 3 years ago, Zephyr. I'm sorry to hear that. But before I went in, because you never know, right? Like surgeries can go wrong. Like I said, I spoke to a friend of mine who was like, "Oh, they nicked my jugular when I went in." I was like, "Great, thanks for telling me that." And by the way, he's a great guy. I didn't hold it against him because he was just telling me what happened to him. But I was like, "Am I okay with God? Am I okay if I died tomorrow?" And of course, the first thing you think about is I've got little kids, and I want to see them grow. And that's really, really important to me. And obviously, my wife, but I've been blessed. I've had a wife for 20 years, which is like 100 years in Hollywood. I mean, you think about the majority of people that I've worked with have gone through multiple wives, and I've had one, thank God. Julie says, I lost my husband 3 years ago and I'm still coming to terms with it. I was with him for 53 years. Goodness me. Wow. You know what? I am gonna say this. And Chris Prochnow says, my husband took his life. I don't grieve for him because he left his way with dignity. You know, one of the things, and this is a very difficult thing to say, but you know, I look at my mom, and my mom hasn't been with someone for many, many years. She doesn't, you know, Archer just came in. He's got a thing now, he likes looking out the window, but the blinds are closed. It's very difficult to say to someone sometimes when, like, well, I find this when I have guys that talk about their dads and they've lost their dads, and I'm like, I never had a dad to lose. And I don't know what is worse, not having a dad to lose, or having a dad and having a loving dad and someone that really cares for you, or like a loving husband or a loving wife, or what is worse, never having that or having it and losing it. It's difficult, right? Because I would love to have had a dad to have lost. You know what I mean? I would love to have had a dad. It doesn't make that heartache. I mean, if I lost my wife, I'll be useless. Like, she is absolutely the backbone of this family. And, you know, dealing with grief is a thing, right? You know, if you read C.S. Lewis, A Grief Observed, but those things only really make sense if there is a God. My buddy Mexican Iron Man in the house, looking good and sounding good today, sir. Of course we missed you. I missed you in a hetero way. I always say that to my friends. I go, I love you, man, in a non-gay way. Mike, you're non-illegal, non-migrant, non-foreign, non-third world invaders. Yes. Honesty and Truth comes in and says, just something to think about. You can take my health, my body, my wealth, but you can't. But what you can't take is my soul, my power to love, and my faith in God and Jesus. Life is a struggle, but we have an eternity to live. Your sparkly lions, even though I can't hear them, which I feel like I've got to lions. It's a bit weird. Every day is a new day. And death only makes sense if you understand there's a higher power. And I can imagine why people get so miserable. I think that that's why so many leftists behave the way they do, because they think that this is just it. This is it. And so, you know what? If this is it, then I'm going to be as hedonistic as I possibly can. I'm going to, you know, do the extremes, live my life to the extremes. You know, it's a funny thing because... you know, I'm a huge fan of Queen, the band, and my grandmother actually was in love with Freddie Mercury. I don't know why. There's always been a thing in my family for, like, liking people that don't look like us. By the way, did you see my revelation? I'm just going to segue a little bit. Apparently, when I told you guys before that I was the whitest person you know, it's actually not true. I actually have heritage, oddly enough, from Malta, which I sent to my father-in-law. I'm like, this is weird. Because, you know, as 23andMe goes by and they get more DNA, then they start going, oh, actually, you're from here. So I have Portuguese, Maltese, Italian, and, like, Slavic, which I'm not surprised about the Slavic angle, like, but I don't know how long it goes back for. But it's like a long way. Let me see if I can pull it up. Okay, so I am, are you ready? 100% European. All right, so let's just get that straight. I'm 100% European, but as we all know, that Europeans are diverse. So 60.4% English. Now, this is what that puzzles me. So my grandfather was Irish. Now, so that's on my mom's dad. My mom's mom, I think her father or her grandfather was Irish. Now, that translates to me as I'm 37.5% Irish. Italian and Maltese, I am 1.5%, which is crazy. That is just crazy to me. Now, I am Belarusian, Polish, and Ukrainian, 0.4. Spanish and Portuguese, 0.2. And Portuguese and Galician, I don't know. These groups descended from a mix of pre-Roman Iberians, Celtic tribes, Romanized populations, blah, blah, blah. So Portuguese, which is kind of a little bit wild. I was kind of like, so I very rarely burn in the sun. And I was like, that cannot be like a Germanic kind of English trait. And if you look at my sister had jet black hair. So I'm like, again, I mean, that could come from like what they call the Black Irish, which was a mix, right, of the Spaniards and the Irish and whatever, like after the Armada sank. But, and she's got paler skin than me, but I have darker skin and lighter hair. So it's a strange mix. But anyway, I am digressing here. I can't. Yeah, it is from ancestry.com. Yeah, I think that, I mean, we are pretty much a mix. But going back to what I was talking about Freddie Mercury, is that if he, you know the song Don't Stop Me Now? Don't stop me now, I'm having a good time. So he wrote that after he basically had a 48-hour like party in Germany. I'm saying party because I know that you know there are some kids watching, so I'm not going to go into what that entailed, but you can imagine. And that is, you know, it's destructive behavior, right? It's this streak of destructive behavior. But if you listen to his songs, like if you listen to like One Vision says at the beginning, God works in mysterious ways. And he says there's a bunch of different references in his songs to God. And actually the same for George Michael. You know, if you listen to Praying for Time, he's kind of like lamenting, you know, that God isn't around. Well, if you don't believe in God, why are you lamenting that there isn't one? And I think that it's important for us to remember this, is that there's a lot of people that feel disenfranchised, and because they haven't had things explained to them properly, which is really important to when you're engaging someone. Like I said, I mean, I'll never go up to somebody and say, hey, you know, do you believe in Jesus? Like, because to me, number one, that's not my style. And I know a lot of people say that, you know, a lot of Catholics don't do that because we do believe in like preaching the gospel and sometimes using words. But there are certain opportune times that you can step in and talk to someone about these things. And I think that, you know, tragedy is one of them. Because it doesn't make sense, right? When you lose someone like that, it does not make sense. And for those of you that have had these tragedies, we've all had these tragedies when you start getting into, you know, your 50s or whatever. A lot of people have it earlier. Well, two things happen. You kind of, that's what I realize this. I've never had a midlife crisis. Like, I've never said, oh, I want to go and do this and that. I want to go and get a sports car or whatever. I wanted to go back and get a Harley Davidson for the longest time, but I can't do that because I couldn't do it to my wife and family because I've had multiple people that I know be killed on bikes. And so I can't do that. But I think that comes from a realizing of your mortality. You know, so if you join the army, like, you know, Tom's a Marine, if you join, they wouldn't get anyone over the age of 40 to join the army or the Marines or whatever. They wouldn't do that because we're more aware of our mortality. Now, if you're talking about going off and fighting because it's for a good cause, that's a different thing. But, you know, when you're 18, 19, you think you're indestructible. And you're not necessarily thinking about when you die. Because if you really comprehended what that meant, you'd live your life very differently. Right? We all take things for granted every day when it comes to living our lives. That's why for me, again, confession makes sense, because you're being held accountable. And you can, detach yourself from God. So I think that what is happening right now is that people are looking at the way the world is, because it's got so bad. And I think that we had it so good for such a long time. I mean, in our lifetime, I'd say in the UK from the late 1700s maybe, and certainly in the US for the last 100 years. I mean, even if you go back to just before World War II, like the US was not the powerhouse that it is. I mean, it was strong, but it was very much an agrarian culture that was, honestly, sometimes I think that the Amish have it right, like disconnecting from the world and just living their lives, a more simple life. Because have our lives got any better with all the tech stuff? I'd argue that it probably hasn't. Can't make anything anymore. Don't know. Our food is over processed. I don't know. And I think that what we've done since COVID has actually been miraculous. I think that people are looking back at their own lives and they're saying, "Is this the way I want to live? There has to be more than this." And that's why there's been a massive resurgence of people going back to the church. That's why when you see someone like Charlie Kirk murdered, people go, "I'm going to go and pick up my Bible because I can't comprehend this." And the left desperately tries to pitch it that he was a racist. I mean, he's clearly not a racist. I mean, there's multiple videos of him fawning over black moms with their little babies, saying about how beautiful they are. I mean, he clearly wasn't a racist, and we all know what that means when someone on the right is called a racist. I mean, they even call black people racists. I was with Alan West the other day, and the things they've called him are just unbelievable. So, but what is happening now is that people are going, our lives are not better from moving away from the church. And so what people are doing now is they're going back and saying, hang on a second, this only makes sense if there is a God and there's a loving God, but there's a just God, and that there's something bigger. So for those of you that are going through trauma right now, that have gone through loss, go and watch my video I did with Jim Burnham about the proof for the existence of an immortal soul, because it shocked me. It was about as shocking as finding out that I could prove that there was a God through Thomas Aquinas' 5 proofs for the existence of God, which again, that to me was an absolute game changer. Like saying, okay, there's an unmoved mover, there's an uncaused first cause of the universe. And just to kind of like, for those of you that are watching, I'll give you just some kind of like like very dumbed down, because I'm a dumbed down kind of person. Thank you, Courtney's Fellowship of Oddballs. You're amazing. I love when you guys flatter me. It's amazing. I'm totally not above it. So one of the arguments that has been made in the past is that everything has a cause and effect, and that is a straw man argument. Because there is something, it's every material thing has a cause and effect. Everything in the material world has a cause and an effect after it. So, for example, if you were to say the Big Bang, is the Big Bang a first cause of the universe or a first effect of the universe? Well, we all know if I do this, that something made the bang. The bang just didn't happen by itself. Now, from there, you guys heard it. The paper jumped here that I've got on my desk. There's a knock-on effect from that. But it cannot be the first cause of things. So when people talk about the Big Bang, that explosion, something had to cause the explosion. So there was a time where there was no matter, and then there was matter in the world. Now, scientists try and tell you, well, there was like no matter, and then there was matter, and that's just normal. I'm like, well, can you show me any other, in your experience in the history of the world, can you ever point to there being nothing, then being something? So, for example, why aren't we worried when we go home that there's going to be a horse standing in our living room because it just came out of nowhere, or a crocodile, or whatever you want to think? That's because something does not come from nothing. We know this. So why do we say that that's what happened with the Big Bang? Because that's all we've got. That's all, the only explanation we've got. Now, those of us that believe in a God, no, there's another explanation. There is an immaterial being that is outside of time and space, because time and space is only created, is the measure of change within matter. So if you're outside of matter, then you're outside of time and space. You get me? So this immaterial thing cannot be made out of parts, because then you'd have to, like, if I like took like this receipt, for example, and then I made it into two different things, then you have to account for the space between it, which means there's going to be something bigger, and that gives you a bigger first cause problem. So if you think that there is something that is outside of time and space, then you're kind of getting into really thinking about real things now. And this came to me because I was like, I don't buy the narrative. It doesn't make sense to me. Even if you look at it and go, well, we came from monkeys. Well, why do we still have monkeys then? Why is it that, like, my son has 2 extra vertebrae in his back? So does that mean that over time that everyone in the world is going to have 2 extra vertebrae in his back? We know that that's not the way that it works. So it's what we need to do is start having a serious conversation, because what's his name now? The Origin of the Species. What's his name? Why can't I think of his name right now? This is what happens when I'm on anti-inflammatories. I can talk a lot about philosophy and the uncause first cause, but I can't remember the name of Charles Darwin. There you go. So Charles Darwin said that his thesis would be approved or disproved by the fossil record. Well, it has come up wanting. We've pretty much found the majority of the fossils that we're ever going to find. I don't know if you knew that, but that's the truth, right? There might be a pocket of them somewhere in the world, but in the main fossil areas, we found pretty much, I'd say 95% of all the fossils we're going to find. And it does not explain the evolutionary jumps that have happened. For example, there's something called the Cambrian explosion. And what happened in the Cambrian explosion is all these animals just came into existence. So, when they say, this animal goes along and it breeds with that animal, and there's a split and there's this genetic mutation and they all come out like that. That didn't happen in the Cambrian explosion. So what happened was there a mass creating event where all these different animals were created? Possibly. Yeah, Rachel, here's the thing. Rachel said, I also believe that evolution was guided by God. That is very much a Catholic stance. Like, you can say that as a Catholic and be okay, because you can say, so the difference between, one of the differences that Catholics say is that, is the Bible the absolute, that's what happened? And the Catholic Church says, we don't know. Some of it could be allegorical, but everything from Abraham onwards is real. But you could say, Adam and Eve and this I'm not saying that is true. You could also state that Adam and Eve were really Adam and Eve, or you could state that Adam, which means humanity, Adam, there could be some kind of allegorical aspect to it. The point is that we're okay with saying we don't know, rather than making an absolute statement that we can't back up, right? So it like 7 days and 7 nights. What is 7 days to God? Is that just a way that we term it for that? Or is it literally 24 hours a day, 7 days? Because really, does God need to like chill out at the end and go, wow, okay. See, Rachel, you Protestant study biology. You would be cast out by a lot of churches for saying that. And I didn't realize this because I got a friend of mine who's an evangelical, and he's one of the most brilliant guys you'll ever meet. And he was a geologist, and he says the Earth is however many millions of years old. It's not. And I'd never heard of young Earth theology, never heard of it until I did Finding Noah, and I met some guys that really believed that the Earth is like, I think it's 10,000 years old because it's like 2,000 years back to Jesus, and then before that, I think it's 5,000 years back to Noah. Now, I'll tell you this. There was a flood. I mean, I did a whole documentary on it. There's no doubt there was a worldwide flood. And you know what's really weird about this? You know, I know we're just segueing, but it's coming into my head. What's really weird about this is they found that a third of the Earth's water, there's the equivalent of a third of the Earth's water underground. Did you know that? So if that groundwater was to come up, it would lift everything significantly. Same thing with when they talk about like the firmament and how oxygen rich it was. That was conducive with large animals, large plants. Oh, sorry, I had a late night last night. It's very rude. So Clover Queen says years ago in Salem, Michigan, they found mastodon bones. That did produce lots of bone. Yeah, and they're finding stuff all over the place. They're finding stuff all over the place, but they're not finding massive amounts of new, I think it's called phyla, like new animals that started around before the Cambrian explosion. So theoretically, let's just say you had 10 different species, and then they would break off, and each one of those would make two new species. It doesn't work like that for the Cambrian explosion. So look it up. It's very, very interesting. So, does that mean that there's us and there was the Neanderthals and blah, blah? I think that's, not that much different. I mean, look, I'm not going to go fully down that rabbit hole, but my point is that we have a pretty good record of things in the Bible, but also, and this is one of the issues that a lot of Protestants have, is that because if you were to look at the majority of the theologians, certainly the early church fathers, they come under Catholicism. And so therefore, a lot of Protestants don't read the early church fathers. And that is not good. Like, you should be reading Jerome. You should be reading these Ignatius of Antioch. You should be like reading these guys, because what you'll find, by the way, is that they all went to Mass and they all believed in the real presence in the Eucharist. Like the new version of that is it's only 600 years old. Yeah, Tom says, wait until we start doing passive radar in the Middle East. Yeah, no, I mean, that is true, but it's still not going. The main places in the world, actually, for this kind of thing is in the States. There's actually a place near where I grew up, Wren's Nest in the UK, which is, phenomenal for fossils. But anyway, there is something that kind of bothers me, and this has always bothered me, and I'm just going to put this question out there. So think about this. All the oil is a carbon deposit, right? So what happens, like as you go out, I mean, let's just say it all comes from when the asteroid hit and all the trees went down. It still doesn't explain why there's trees upon trees upon trees, like massive oil deposits. And I'm a little bit kind of, I'd like to delve into that a little bit more. In the same way that there was one, I don't know if you guys know this, but there was one oil well that they found, like one oil deposit. And they were pulling from this oil deposit and then it went dry. And then, so they left it. And then a few years later, they went back and there was oil in it again. Yeah, the redwood forest stuff, it's still not enough. Like you got to remember that this is like, these oil deposits are like a mile thick. So that would mean you'd have to have a mile thick vegetation that was pushed down over time. It's kind of weird. I mean, even if you thought there was a great flood and it knocked everything down, what did they all congeal into one area? I don't know is the answer. I'm just not sold. There's something that we're not seeing. Saying that, I'm totally down with the science, and but I do think there's something kind of weird about why we continue to find oil that is meant to have been run out like 20 years ago. It's weird. I don't understand it, you know. See, Tom says that we had wells that would run dry for a year or two, then boom, 80 barrels a day. I don't understand how that happens. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. And I've looked this up, especially this one that was offshore that went dry and then all of a sudden it's full again. It's really weird, and I don't know what that is. If there's another way that the earth is creating oil. I mean, I know that they are talking about it coming from deeper in the earth, which would make absolute sense to me, and not that it is like fossil based. It's just very weird to me. But anyway, I digress. Let's go back to the point is the uncaused first cause of the universe. So something had to put the universe into motion. So the Big Bang couldn't have been the first cause. It had to have been, it could have been the first effect, but it couldn't have been the first cause. So if that's the case, then, you know, everything comes from a immaterial being that has to be all powerful, right? Because you can't make something that you can't make something that is more powerful than yourself if you are the source of all things. Do you feel me? You understand? Like, that's why they say God is love. Right? God is love. God, it's not a part of him. He is love. So if you look at God, you know, I think that for most of us, we kind of think of God as this like white-haired being with like a beard and, you know, wears Birkenstocks. But God is more of is an immaterial being. He's not made out of parts and is all-powerful. Can you create something that has more knowledge than you? I'm not talking about AI. Right, but if you are the source of all intelligence in the universe, you cannot make something that is more intelligent than you because you are the source of it. Ignatius of Antioch, Joan. So there's an interesting thing. I'm just going to segue on this a second. There's an interesting thing about Jerome because so Catholics had more books in the Bible. I've spoken about this with Patrick Coffin because the Jews hadn't... at the time of the compilation of the Bible, they had not determined how many books were in their Bible. And so later on, they made it less. But at the time, the Catholic Church says, no, the established, you know, amount of books is the larger amount, right? So Jerome argued that, hang on a minute, it should be the lesser amount. This is really important to know, okay? So when you go and look at Protestant teachings on this, they'll say Jerome argued that the lesser amount of books, because there were two kind of going around at the time, the lesser amount of books are the way to go. Well, what people do not tell you is that he changed his mind on that later on. And he asked the question or said, no, I think it's going to be the lesser books. And then later on he went, you know what, I was wrong. It's going to be the more, it's going to be the higher number of books. So if anyone says to you, well, St. Jerome said less books, it is true, but it's not true. It's not telling the whole picture that actually later on he said, no. In the same thing, like I told you, that Martin Luther added words to the Bible, and you just can't do that. You cannot do that. Either it's the infallible word of God, or I can go out and scribble in the Bible and say that it's scripture because I decided that I was going to change it. You can't do that. So there's a little bit of like logical when you're trying to think it through logically and chronologically, it doesn't make sense. So Chris said, never understood the Bible. What do you mean? In what way? Yeah, Zephyr, Luther never denied Mary or the Eucharist initially. There's a whole thing about that. So what do you mean, Chris? What do you say? You never understood the Bible. What do you mean? In what way? Like you read it and you don't get it, or never understood what it is? Like tell me what you mean by that. My people have been awfully quiet today. Normally they're very, very chatty and very, very super chatty and very, very much membership givers. And they're very quiet today. I wonder why that is. Speak up, Chris. I have your 6B. We'll wait. We'll wait for Chris to come back. But well, yeah, I mean, because it's gone through, different translations. But there are ways, once you get into it, you can, yeah. It's funny, Lillian Mountain says, I went to Catholic school, we didn't read the Bible much. Yeah, but if you went to Mass once a week, you read the Bible every 3 years. Facts. That's all right, Spider, we'll let you off. We are paying attention in class. Yeah, so if you haven't been to a Catholic Mass, you basically get a writing, then you get a reference to the Old Testament, and then you'll get one of the writings, normally it's Paul, and then all that will be tied together in with the Gospel. So anyways, going back to the uncaused first cause. So you have the uncaused first cause of the universe. There has to be a material. And again, how do we know that there's immaterial things? Well, as I said before, 2 + 2 = 4 is a concept that is not just physical, it is in our minds, right? So there are concepts that are in our minds that are immaterial. Like, the angles of a triangle coming to 180 degrees, that is outside of just the physical world. That's a concept. Justice is a concept. So we think it and we can understand it. Like if you talk to someone about justice, they understand what that means. So that means that we have a spiritual element to us. It's not just material. Like we're not just like going through the motions. We have a soul. And that is really important, because if you have a soul, then where is your soul? Because the soul can't be destroyed because it's not made of material things. It's like you can create a soul, but you can't destroy a soul. So where does it go? That's my long-winded way of explaining to you that people who have died, and we don't know, contrary to what a lot of people say, we don't know whether some people are in heaven or not. We don't know. So that is really important to understand when you're talking about loss and people that are not here anymore and where they are. And, we don't know the forgiveness that we're going to get. the more you know, the more responsibility you have, like to live your life in a different way. That is the thing. That's what I'm saying. You know, I realized years ago, and I'm far from perfect, but I realized years ago that I was going to behave differently and I was going to approach things differently. And even that is an evolution for me right now on what am I doing? Where am I going? How am I talking to my kids? How am I talking to my friends? What am I doing with this channel? You know, all these are things that I think that people are pondering right now because they understand that there's got to be something bigger. And that's why the Orthodox churches are packed. Like nobody wants to hear a foo-foo, like, you know, nebulous. I've got to say, like a lot of the Novus Ordo masses in Catholic churches are just like this. But I know that it's the same in Protestant churches with the jingly-jangly guitars, which I hate. And the stage, I'm like, it's not a performance. So, you know, that... No, it shouldn't be low volume. I hope not. By the way, I'm not having any of this. I know you can hear that. I can't hear that. It's really weird. I told you. It got some funky things going on. So, when you're dealing with loss, just remember it's your loss, not their loss. If they've lived a good life, then, and I mean like, you know, a virtuous life, then you're in with a good chance of getting in. Oh, really? I don't know what's going on with that. There's something going on with my system. I mean, I have to watch it because sometimes my kids come into my office and just tweak everything. They're like, I come back and I'm like, who's been in my office? Nobody. Yeah, the Latin Mass is very, very beautiful. And, you know, and I love the Latin Mass. It's just very difficult to take my kids to. So we go to one that's kind of half Latin, half English, and that's all right. I think it's you, Mike D. I think it's you. I think you got to stop walking around like this. That's all I'm saying. If you walk around like that, you're not going to hear me. All right, I'm going to open up for 5 minutes of questions at the end of this sessione. Hey, Victoria. Yeah. It's hard. What were you cancelled? What happened to you? Let's bring that up. Yep. Yes, it is. No questiones? Get typing. Get those thumbs typing. Oh, wow. To the authorities. Did you send that to Victoria? Joan Lovelace in the house. She's like, you know, we're winding down. It's my thing. It's what I do. I gift memberships at the end of the session. And thank you. You get the sparkly lion. So, Bakunwa, Nutmeg. Oh, Nutmeg got one. Nokifu. Carl G in the hizzle. And Diana Shop, you got memberships from the most awesome, might I say? Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Joan Lovelace, thank you very much. Oh my gosh, they put you in prison for what? What's up next for me? Chris Prochnow. I don't know. I had a conversation yesterday with a producer friend of mine, and we were talking about just the quality of films have just cratered. Like nobody wants to watch any of the stuff that's been made. And as I've told you before, conservatives do not like put money behind film, which is very frustrating. But still writing. Got a couple of things going on. Got a documentary that I'm going to be working on. But I don't really like doing documentaries, but, you know. Wow, so police wouldn't send her evidence to the CPS. Unbelievable. Zephyr in the hizzle just because. Just super chatting just for the hell of it. We love you. We love you, Zephyr. Zephyr's possibly the greatest cloud. There you go. And you get the sparkly line, even though I can't hear it. It's like a mute line. It's like a... That's the line. But I'm presuming it's sparkly and loud. All right. Tree says, I thought of a question yesterday, but now I can't remember it. Come on now. Courtney's Fellowship of Oddballs. This is a really good question. Norm MacDonald or Chris Farley? It's got to be Norm. He's got to be Norm. I'm not really one for that kind of like more slapstick stuff. And I just love, I think Norman was amazing. Like just such a smart guy. Jones, this is, okay, so let's go back a bit. Hey, Victoria says, love your podcast and how the film industry works. My pleasure. Jones said, what do you miss the most about your career before woke? I love making beautiful things. I love being involved with creativity and building, and you know, I got to do some really great stuff. So I enjoyed that. I love my craft. Todd Bryant in the hizzle. My buddy Todd is in the house. Mel Gibson should have cast you as the new Jesus. You would have been awesome. I will take that. But I'm getting on now. I'm not that much younger than Jim. No Crockett coffee today. All right, I'm going to have to do the Crockett coffee. I don't have any coffee in front of me. I already had 2 cups. But Crockett coffee, you asked for it. So you guys know I love coffee. I love the coffee. I love the beans. And Crockett coffee is some of the best coffee you will have. You can ask some of the people on here. They already bought it. They went over to the Crockett Coffee website and they typed in discount code Matthew20 for 20% across all store-wide. This is owned and operated by Buck Sexton, Mason Sexton, and Clay Travis. And the beans are roasted here by a father-son team. So, you know, you got family involved. It's fantastic. And they donate some of their profits to Tunnels to Towers. So these guys put their money where their mouth is. Stop giving money to people who hate you. It's really good. I smelt that. I can't smell it, to be honest. It's closed. It's not like the other day where I opened it and I just sprinkled it all over myself. I'm like, I could act it. Oh, hang on a minute. No, I can't really smell it from the outside. But anyway, it's really great coffee. The people on the chat, tell them how good it is. And they are my first and only sponsor. And I did ask you guys. And so these people they put their money where their mouth is. They're good peeps. So go get your Crockett coffee and tell me how it is. Oh, Courtney's Fellowship of Oddballs comes in. This is an easy one. Madness or the specials. Madness all day long and twice on a Sunday. All right. I wanted to see if you can call it We Are Those Men. Yeah. Hey, Victoria. I'm old enough to remember you in a soap, but I can't remember which one. I was actually originally in Emmerdale. I did Emmerdale, then I moved to Coronation Street for a year, and that was one of the best times of my life. I loved it. There you go. You got your Crockett coffee. Jim in the hizzle says, can I call you cousin since you revealed you are 1% Italian? Si, Jim. Is that my Italian? It's coming out. I need to start talking with my hands, don't I, to be Italian. All right, let's have a look. Order the coffee. You won't be disappointed because Mike D was one of the first people to go get it. Question, how many drafts of script do you write before you feel satisfied? Asking for myself. Okay, this is actually a really good question. So Ken Nolan, who wrote Black Hawk Down, told me the first pass of your script is crap. Everyone's is crap. Like, even his is crap. So write it, leave it and come back to it a month later, and then it will be better. Normally, I will do one draft leave it, come back and tweak it. And that's it. The reason why I don't tweak it too much is because everyone's got an opinion. And when you get the movie sold, if you're going to sell a script to a director or to a producer, they're going to come in and have you rewritten anyway. And that's the stark reality of it. Unless you go to Clint Eastwood, who's not directing anymore, and he said, I direct the movie of the script. I don't do script development. So you're going to get rewritten. You're going to get someone come in and say, hey, can you tweak it this way? My friend Tim Clemente wrote a script, and it was one of the best scripts I've ever read. And he said, they've asked me to, change it here, change it. I said, don't do it. Don't do it, dude, because your first pass is the best pass, like in all of your movies. And so then obviously he wanted to be accommodating, so he started changing the screenplay. And then they went, we don't like it anymore. So get it to a place that you're happy with. Get someone else who you trust to read it. I always send it to Margaret, my business partner, Margaret, because she's an absolute literary snob. And she'll ask me a few questions. But normally, the thing with me and Margaret, the way we work is she'll see something that she says, I'm not sure if that'll work. But she understands that when you start going into production, because normally I direct as well, I'll iron that out. So it all depends on the kind of relationship you have. I hope that helps, Spider. So I don't think there's necessarily a number of drafts. Just stick to your guns. But if you do have someone that you really respect and they want to give you feedback, and not like how would I direct this or how would I write this, but did you achieve your objectives in writing the screenplay? Like, what are your objectives, and I can tell you whether or not you achieve them. Courtney's Fellowship of Oddballs question: who would you rather do a duet with, Amy Winehouse or Adele? Well, that's kind of problematic because one of them is dead. So I'm being facetious. Adele, I think, actually. I mean, she's got a fantastic voice. Yeah, she wasn't as talented. Huge question. Huge question. Who would you choose to play you in a movie? They can be alive or dead. I don't know. I really don't know. That's a great question. I don't know. Oh, I guess I'd want Daniel Day-Lewis because he does everybody brilliantly. Let me have a look. Out of acting, directing, or writing, do you prefer one over the other? That's a really great question. I love acting, but I really love directing. Like, I really, really love directing. Writing for me is always like it's just a means to an end to get something that let's just put it this. I had a major production company come to me after they read one of my scripts, and they said, this script is one of the best scripts we've ever read, which I was not expecting because I don't see myself as a writer. And they said, will you pitch us another story? And we'd love to work with you. And I haven't called them back because I don't see myself as a writer. But I do love directing because I get to like shape the vision. And, with a director, you have to be a benevolent dictator, so I love getting the best out of people. Hey, Victoria, can I sing? I can. Go and have a look at The Heart's Lone Desire on YouTube. Go look. Todd said I could do it. Yeah. Aim was off key and less in studio. Adele. Adele is fantastic. She's such an amazing artist. Yeah, we love Adele. Well, guys, thank you so very much. I know this was an impromptu, a little bit early session. Well, I think if Pierce Brosnan is older than me now, Courtney. Like, I know he looks good for his age, but he's definitely older than me. But I'd take that. Clover Queen, Matthew, do you like time period movies? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I love those. I don't know why they're doing remaking Amadeus, or they remade Amadeus. That to me is completely stupid. I have no idea why they did that. So look at what on YouTube. You can look up The Heart's Lone Desire, or as Americans say, The Heart's Lone Desire. So if you can look that up, Favorite decade for film music. That's difficult. I mean, I like the 80s, obviously, because it's very nostalgic for me. I think the 60s was pretty amazing. I mean, 60s, 70s, 80s, that 30-year period is really amazing, which is scary if you think like you're looking at from 2000s till now. That's 25 years, and we haven't put out anything like what they did in those 30 years. Yeah, they remade Amadeus, which is stupid. So movies, I think the 80s as well, actually. I love the hope that they brought in the 80s, but the 70s was pretty great for film. All right, guys. Well, I want to thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in as usual. I'll have my show again on Friday. And by the way, I was going to do a later show the other day, but we had chaos at the house, so I couldn't do another late show. So what I'm going to do next time is I'm going to trailer this well in advance, so we can talk about things. All right, guys. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for buying your Crockett coffee. Thank you for super chats. Thank you for the memberships. You guys are amazing. And just remember, not all actors are like this, I promise. I will see you on Friday. Bye-bye.